Welcome to the Legalpreneur podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Sager, founder and CEO of Legalpreneur, Inc. As a serial entrepreneur and someone that works exclusively with small business owners legally protecting their business, I'm dedicated to covering common legal issues faced by business owners, providing you with the business knowledge you need to catapult your business's growth and showing you just how some of the world's most elite entrepreneurs have handled these legal and business issues themselves. In true attorney fashion, the information in this episode is not legal advice. This is for informational purposes only, and you should always consult with your attorney before implementing any of the information in the show. Hey, welcome back to the Legalpreneur podcast. I am so pumped for today's guest, Ashley Alderson, CEO and founder of The Boutique Hub. It is one of my favorite resources for business owners. I was a member of the Boutique Hub way back when, years and years ago. And if you're a client, if you're a Legalpreneur member, and you sell products, you have a product-based business, you have heard me talk about the Boutique Hub, and I have the CEO and founder with us today, and I'm so pumped for you to hear from her. Thank you so much for joining us, Ashley.
I'm so pumped to be here. You are an OG Boutique Hub member, like way back before the legal days. So I love that it's come full circle. This is awesome.
I know. When I tell clients about the Boutique Hub, they're like, "Wait, what is it?" And I'm like, "Listen, I was a member of this like way back when," and because people know that I'm a serial entrepreneur, but I don't talk a whole lot about my boutique days. But I always talk about the Boutique Hub. So tell everybody your story. How did you get to where you are today?
Oh man. Well, originally I am just a girl from North Dakota. I grew up on a ranch. I grew up on the back of a horse. I've always ironically loved fashion throughout that whole, journey, but really fashion was never something close to me. There really weren't a lot of boutiques in North Dakota when I was growing up. I did start working, however, in retail at the age of 14. I worked at this cute little flower shop, small town, under 2,000 people. The flower shop was called the Flower Nook, and I delivered flowers in their purple station wagon called the Nookie Wagon, which I don't think they realized what that meant. So as a teenage girl, I drove the Nookie Wagon, totally inappropriate, but here we are. So in that time, I also fell in love with entrepreneurship. My family was, farmers, ranchers, entrepreneurs. I love the journey of retail. I love the journey of serving people and just became fascinated by business process. So I went to college for marketing, business development, PR, came back, had a little stint in the rodeo career, which is a whole nother story. But came back after that time, kind of traveling the country, where I fell in love with boutiques all over the United States and abroad. And thought, man, why can't I find something like that here? Why can't I find something like that in my small town? And the internet and social media were really taking off with e-commerce at that time. And this is like, way back, like early 2000s. And so that's where the idea of the hub first came from. I thought, how can I connect people like me who felt like, man, I'm from the Midwest. I'm not New York. I'm not LA, but I love these stores. How can I find them? That's where the idea came from. So rather than building it right away, I actually started my journey in economic development. At that point, I built a career in economic development, serving other small businesses after college for about 8 years while this idea kind of marinated. And then at the end of 8 years' time, my dad, who was kind of the patriarch of our ranch, passed away from brain cancer. And in his passing, it kind of opened an opportunity for my husband and I, and we had 2 small kids at the time, to say, you know what, we've always lived here. We've been tied to my family. Let's just have an adventure. Let's move across the country. Let's go where my husband grew up, which is Wisconsin. Let's just go figure it out, right? We're only young ones. So we packed up, we moved, we transferred with my husband's company. I left my job in economic development and had an opportunity to build this wild idea. I didn't know anything about building this wild idea, by the way. Like, I hired a random web developer, started to build the Boutique Hub at that time, had a lot of ups and downs, which legally I'm sure we could talk about, like the legal ups and downs I had. But built this business that was all around, first, helping the consumer discover boutiques. But second, what I discovered in that process was these boutiques, more than they needed consumers in another outlet, they needed one another. They needed a community. They needed a support system. They needed resources. They needed somebody who understood business on a few different levels to help them. Because so many entrepreneurs get started and they're stay-at-home moms, they're nurses, they're teachers, they're leaving another career in search of freedom and flexibility. And that's great. And your passion and drive and why and purpose can drive you, but there still is foundation that you have to build in a business. And so the Boutique Hub was really able to offer that early on for the boutique industry, whether it was apparel, accessories, home goods, whatever. And now today, that's really grown into a global business. United States, every state in the United States, and 8 countries. We serve boutiques all over the world, and we help them with literally every aspect of their business, from retail to business development to wholesale. So it's quite been the evolution.
Yes, it has been an evolution. I remember the OG days, and I think a lot of people, because I remember I found the boutique hub. I don't even remember. I'm sure just like some random Google search, like how do I grow my boutique or something like that, and
Yeah.
didn't even know what we needed. But the community that you created from day one, definitely, like I think that's why the boutique hub has grown to be what it is today. And can you tell everybody like the new things about the boutique hub? Because I'm so pumped about the app. I'm so pumped about all like we're launching the app, so I know like your journey. I know that an app is not a fun thing. It's fun. It's just not easy, and so many ups and downs.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you first, so like how the boutique hub works, like existing when an entrepreneur, either if you're a retail entrepreneur or a wholesale, like a product base, but you want to sell wholesale into boutiques, and we have membership types for both. And a membership is really how you access the community. And then inside, there's training on every single topic. There's live mentors. There's access to group discounts and opportunities, things like insurance that's hard for entrepreneurs to get access to. We try to bring every resource under that one roof. And then we also do live events and conferences, retreats, and masterminds. And this year, this is something that's brand new to answer your question. Two things, actually. One, a lot of our communication and our daily support happens in Facebook groups, which it does for a lot of different types of businesses. So we built an app for our industry that really kind of takes that online community to the app, along with all the resources that we have into the app as well. So you know what that's like. Huge process building that. For us, we built that from scratch for the last year. So that's a really cool opportunity. And then the second is tied to that retail wholesale connection. So we built our own wholesale platform, much like many of the wholesale platforms you see online today, called Hubventory. And it's a way for retailers to discover great products that they want to stock in their store and build a relationship with them. It's kind of a wholesale meets Pinterest type of concept where there's a lot of creative discovery and planning that happens so retailers can buy smarter with every single purchase. And I also am a big believer in still like that in-person experience. So we try to integrate as much as possible with in-person trade shows as well. So retailers can discover stores in person and online both.
Yeah, I love that. I'm so pumped for you guys because there's been I know you guys have had so many ups and downs. We've had so many ups and downs and oh, it's so exciting. And I'm so grateful for the hub because you guys, I know that I would not be where I am in my career today without the hub because I remember when I basically the day I launched my firm, I had clients because of the hub and it was
Yeah,
really the network I created at the boutique hub that made me see, hey, there's a huge gap in the market for
yeah,
entrepreneurs, just like they needed boutiques to be connected, they needed a go-to attorney. And you filled a need in the marketplace. I filled a need in the marketplace, which I discovered through the hub. So always
yeah.
very, very grateful to the hub for that discovery.
Oh, thank you for that. It was a pleasure to have you, and you did feel such a need. When I think about new entrepreneurs, no matter what type of business you have, it can feel really overwhelming to go and find a random attorney that feels intimidating. There's always a lot of like mahogany and leather, right? And you don't know what you're getting into. And you just like demystified that for so many people. You made legal services really approachable and you knew so much about the businesses already because you had that background. So people, they could trust you right off the bat. So I am a huge believer in what you're doing just because I've seen that from the ground up inside of the boutique hub. And I know there's such a huge need you're filling for people.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh man. Okay, so let's chat a little bit about some legal stuff that you guys have implemented because you guys, I one of the reasons why I love the hub is because y'all take care of the legal stuff and y'all have a number of trademarks, which is amazing. But yeah, can you talk about that a little? Obviously, not in too many details, but
Yeah, there's so many different things. So first and foremost, trademarks are huge. So anytime, I think our very first trademark was Boutique Hub. Obviously, you trademark your company name. And then we moved into like slogans that we were using, like Boutique Boss, we've trademarked. And then some of our main product names. So Boutique Boot Camp, Retail Boot Camp, Hub Ventory, all those signature products. And it's amazing, Andrea, how many times, like anymore, I feel like we were the very first in the industry in terms of coaching boutique owners and building a community for boutique owners. Now there's like a million of them, and all of them want to use the name Boutique Boot Camp or Retail Boot Camp, or just like all these trademarks. So we've really had to like rely heavily on those legal pieces that we've put in place to push people away from using something that we've already protected. So I'd say the trademarking piece is really huge. Another piece in terms of like what we've implemented legally, I would say, is something we help a lot of other businesses do, and that's non-competes, non-disclosures, really making sure that boutiques have those in place when they're building their own team inside of their business. We've got those in our contracts as well for all of our employees. And then I would say another piece that I see a lot in our community is, our own trademark. But as you know, all these boutiques inside of the hub, they have their own trademarks. And these wholesale brands and product-based businesses, they have their own trademarks. And it's important not only for them to understand protecting their own business, but when you are a retailer and you're buying other pieces to sell on your platform, now if you're buying something that's a knockoff, it's a dupe, that is just grounds for disaster. You and I could probably talk about that quite a bit in terms of losing your own social media accounts, losing your own e-commerce platform. Like if you sell something that says Louis Vuitton and then you didn't buy from Louis Vuitton, there's a problem there. We should probably discuss.
Yeah. And I know you and I have been, like, I wouldn't say at the forefront, but we just see these issues because, I mean, in the Facebook groups, there's, every couple of months, there's a viral post in the groups about, I got this letter from Louis Vuitton or whoever. And there's such a big issue that isn't getting solved around that. And you know what? I will talk about that here because we know you can add glam to a authentic Louis, like we're all talking about authentic material here. If it's a dupe, if it's a knockoff, illegal, no matter what you're doing to it. Now, if it's authentic, you can add fringe, you can add jewels to it, whatever, that's okay. What's tricky is when we know people do this, they buy even brand new bags, cut them up and create new products. That's where it gets really tricky. That's where it's coming to be really big issues. And I will tell you, nobody knows what the actual law is. And because I tell people all the time, they'll come to me and they're like, I got this letter. What do I do? And I'm like, well, you got to fight it. And I mean, well, first of all, if you don't want to fight it, then you got to stop selling it. But the thing is, Louis Vuitton just sends out waves of letters every once in a while. And just to see, okay, who can we get to stop selling? Because we know who the big players are that are selling those products. And I tell my clients, I say, if they're not getting sued, they're not going to come after you. So once you see them getting sued, that's when you need to get worried. But Louis Vuitton isn't going to sue them because nobody knows how that would turn out. And if Louis Vuitton sues a company that's making millions and millions of dollars by buying their bags, cutting them up, and putting their logo on a new product, and Louis Vuitton loses, like that sets the precedent right there and opens the floodgates. And that I tell people, I'm like, that's why Louis Vuitton hasn't actually sued over this. So, like, who would be the winner? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. And that's the tricky part. There's so much to think about and weigh when you're talking about actual authentic products like that and this whole like upcycled world that exists in products. But let's go back to like the dupe, because you said obviously we know it's illegal. I feel like there's a lot of people who don't know that's illegal. I just don't think they don't know. Like, oh, I saw this bolt of fabric that had Louis Vuitton logos on it on Etsy. So I bought it and I made hair bows for my kids. Like, you can't do that. Or Gucci or whatever. Or like this, Andrea, I know we've been down this road. I think about like Kansas City Chiefs gear, like Super Bowl a while back. People just like, oh, I just printed my own Kansas City Chiefs stuff with my Cricut and I'm going to sell it to other people. No, that is a licensed copyrighted trademark and you can't just reprint it. You have to buy it from a licensed secondhand like dealer. You have to buy it from somebody who has that paperwork. So when you're a retailer and you're going to market, when you're going to trade shows, when you're buying online, whatever, and you see a noticeable logo that you're familiar with, Starbucks, Disney, football teams, but when you see these things that are like popular, obviously they're protected. And so you have to ask the wholesaler who you're buying from, do you have, legal authority? Do you have the license to sell this? And if so, can I see it so that I have it in case something happens and social media tries to take down my site? And if it's ever questionable and you're like, where's the gray area? I would just like encourage you to ask this question. If someone was printing t-shirts with your face on them and selling them for profit, how would you feel about that? Like, would you allow someone else to print your face on a t-shirt and sell it for profit? Would that be okay? I'm hoping 9 times out of 10, you'd be like, no, that's kind of weird. That's my face. I should make the money if someone's going to buy shirts with my face on them. So then don't do it. Don't be selling crap with a Starbucks logo on it. They're going to get you.
Yes. And now on the wholesale side of that, you have to be even more careful because if you're creating these products, if you are buying what you think is a proper license, but it's actually not, and you're selling it wholesale to 10 retailers, now not only are you responsible for what you have sold, those sales, you're now responsible for the retailers. So if you're a wholesaler, you have so much more liability on you because basically you're responsible for what goes down the line. So whoever buys from you, you're responsible for what they're selling. So you may think, "Oh, I just sold 10, to 10 companies." Okay. Well, did they redistribute it to anybody? Because then you're responsible for them. So when it comes to wholesaling, it is it can get you in a lot of trouble if you are not creating properly licensed products.
Oh, I had a really good friend in Texas who bought what she thought was legal Dallas Cowboy gear and was selling it. Not only did she lose her Instagram account, it got taken down. She lost her Facebook account. She lost her Shopify account. And then they came after the wholesaler and her. And it's so like if you're the wholesaler, there's the profit you made. But like you're saying, now there's the profit that all the boutiques made, all that margin. And you're responsible for all of that legally. So it is not worth the risk to sell something that you think, oh, I bought it in some wholesale Facebook group. Well, it's pretty easy anymore with like bots and search on the internet to find those things and easily take your business down. And there's no getting it back once that happens.
Yeah, Katie Iverson with Designer Arm Candy. I need to get her on the podcast. All of her social media got taken down, and we spent so much time trying to get her stuff back. And she has spent because in her defense, her account is just like the real, and similar companies, and they still have accounts. So she has spent hours on hours chatting with Facebook, Instagram, trying to keep her accounts. And but poor thing, right before Black Friday, which is many retailers, their biggest days, her social media got taken down. And so for her, everything she does is legal, but you still run that risk. It's like if you run your entire business on social media, that just goes back to you don't own your social media. And you really have to make sure you own your business. You truly own how you're making your money.
Yeah, you totally do. And you have to be so careful with the details. Let's talk about Katie's example because our team also got involved and tried to help Katie get that back just with our own connections at Facebook. And the trigger for her, like the tipping point, was one single word she used in a Facebook post that took everything down. It was the word new. The word new. So she's selling like authentic, but it's pre-loved goods, right? That are all authentic Gucci, authentic Louis Vuitton, all of that stuff. But one of her posts, it was just like the wording was a little bit off, saying like, "Oh, this is a new product," and like that, they can come and they can take it down because it's not. I mean, it is what it is, but a simple mistake. So when you do have products like that that are on the, I mean, it's not that it's on the fringe, but you do have to be careful with it. Those words that you use really do matter. They can mislead in a heartbeat and totally out of her control, no fault of her own. I hate that this happened to her, but what a hard way to find that out.
Yeah, it's awful. And we've seen that happen to so many business owners, boutique owners that have I mean, I know there's been people in the hub that post, they have hundreds of thousands of followers and they lost their accounts just because they posted, cowboy stuff or Louis Vuitton, Gucci stuff, Chanel, whatever it is. And that goes back to you as the brand owner. You want to create a brand, especially if you have products that you're creating. Think about the revenue that those companies are making off of you guys. Like, yes, you're also making money off of them, but it also speaks to building a solid legacy brand because ultimately we want to have this lifelong brand that is going to provide generational wealth. And once you're creating that brand, you can then license it to other people to sell and you make money off of what they're selling. So that just goes to the other side of, retail and wholesale, but also licensing and creating that brand. What goes into that is trademarks, creating copyrights, the intellectual property, the inherent value inside of those things that you're creating. So when building a brand, don't go just for the easy or quick money, build something long term and sustainable.
Yes. We could go on a whole rabbit hole about licensing and even licensing not just an image and a brand, but intellectual property. I mean, there's so many different ways to do that. But I want to ask you this, or I want to talk about this as well when it comes to licensing. So this year is the 50th anniversary of the smiley, of the yellow smiley. And so with that, all of these products that are being sold that are the yellow smiley that are licensed, are officially licensed. And what a lot of people don't know is 50 years ago, whatever the company is that, licensed the smiley, that's where all of our emojis have come from. Like anything with that yellow smiley face, it all came from that one company. It's all licensed back to the original smiley. So because it's so popular this year, there's a lot of people that are making products with the smiley on them that are infringing on that trademark and they are unlicensed. So we're seeing a lot of companies get taken down this year for that very reason. And I know you can hit on this, the difference in like the original product, or some people talk about this like 20% rule. Like,
Oh
oh, if
no.
I just change it,
Yes, let's talk
I
about
just
that.
yeah, if I just change it 20%, then I'm okay. But that is bullcrap. Any type of smiley that is like a smiley face, right, is infringing on this trademark. So, what is the 20% rule?
There,
How does that
there's no such
work?
thing as a 20 or 30% rule. I don't even know where this came from because there's no court case. Like courts will point to people making up this 20 or 30% rule, but there's never been such a thing. So the test for trademarks is likelihood of confusion, like are consumers likely to be confused as to who the owner is. For copyrights, the test is substantially similar. Cool, what is substantially similar? Nobody knows. So it's just a matter of, okay, like, is this close enough? So there's no, basically, I tell clients, and especially our designer clients, if you look at one design and you look at another and you can tell one was derived from the other, it's probably copyright infringement. There's no such thing as, oh, I changed this 20, a little bit. I changed this a little bit. So now it changed 20 or 30%. No, there's no such thing. And you should never, ever rely on that.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. Yeah. So even if
Oh
you
my
make a
God.
brown smiley face, brown smiley face.
Oh my God. Okay. We could sit here and talk about like all these myths from boutique owners and all these like horror stories from boutique owners. We have horror stories for days, but I don't want to keep you too much longer. So before I let anybody go, I ask for your number one business tip. And it doesn't have to be anything legal related. I like if a boutique owner was to come to you today and say, Ashley, please, like, what is your number one business tip for me? What you
This is not boutique owner specific. This is for everybody. A lot of times people get into business because they want freedom, they want flexibility, they want financial success, right? So I think we also, not only do we have that angle, but we were taught for some reason in school that you have to come into business with this like detailed business plan and financial projections and all this detail. And to me, I think both of those are just kind of backwards. I think what we have to start with is anytime you're in business, and if you're going to have a successful business, you have to start with what is the problem that I solve and why am I trying to solve it? Who can I help by solving this problem? If we approach every single day in business with who can I help and how can I solve their problems, right? How can I make the world a better place ultimately? Man, that is the secret to success. When you truly solve someone's problem and you truly provide value to someone and make their life better, the money will always follow. But if you chase the money and the freedom first, the business doesn't necessarily follow, right? It doesn't necessarily stick. So don't feel like you have to have all the details and all the plans, but just know, what is the problem I solve? How can I help people? How can I make this place a better place? And it will all come together in the end.
I love that. That is amazing. I have not had anybody give that tip yet. So thank you for that. All right. So where can everybody go find you, the Boutique Hub? How, if they're a boutique or a wholesaler, how can they get involved?
Yes. So if you are in the boutique industry, if you are a product based business, whether you sell direct to consumer or wholesale or you're a boutique owner, go to theboutiquehub.com. All of our resources are on theboutiquehub.com. We also have a podcast called Boutique Chat. And on Instagram, we're super active with tips and ideas every single day at the Boutique Hub. But if you want to talk to me personally, like founder to founder, company CEO to company CEO, I would love to connect with you personally on Instagram. It's AJ Alderson on Instagram.
Love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Ashley. And you guys, go check out the Boutique Hub. I'm no longer a boutique owner, but very, very much still involved in the industry, still work with tons of boutique owners. So the Boutique Hub is still one of my favorite resources. So go check them out.
Thanks so much, Andrea.
Here at Legalpreneur, we're committed to providing a supportive legal community for all business owners. I know how scary the legal stuff can be. If you found this information helpful, I would be so grateful if you could share it with a fellow business owner. And quite frankly, it doesn't cost anything to rate, review, or subscribe to the show. Your support helps me reach more listeners, which allows me to support more business owners in their entrepreneurial journey. Have any questions or comments about the show? Feel free to drop me a line on Instagram. I promise I read all of the messages and comments. And if you want to be a guest on the show or know someone that would make a great guest, simply fill out our application form and a team member will reach out if we think it's a good fit. I'll see you in the next episode.